NASA News Network is sponsored in part by GetTheTea.com. About your health.
Is the sun disintegrating? Well, NASA has now spotted a monster hole opening up on our star. John Austin for the Express reports. There it is. That is the massive, massive black spot on the sun. John Austin for the Express reports that NASA has revealed that a massive hole right there, measuring more than 10% of the sun's surface, yes, has opened up on our star. The remarkable footage, you can actually watch it. You can see the footage at the link in the description, not the YouTube link, the link right below the YouTube link that will take you to the article that I'm citing right now. The remarkable footage was captured by the U.S. Space Agency's Solar Dynamics Observatory between May 17 and May 19. The video shows a giant dark area on the star's upper half known as a coronal hole. The NASA spokesman said that coronal holes are low-density regions of the sun's atmosphere known as the corona. Because they contain little solar material, they have lower temperatures and thus appear much darker than their surroundings. Coronal holes are visible in certain types of extreme ultraviolet light, which is typically invisible to our eyes but is colorized there in purple for easy viewing. NASA says that the huge hole is actually not of great concern, but it remains unclear why the coronal holes are actually being formed. It does mean that large amounts of solar winds that cause the aurora borealis or northern lights to form have been blasted to Earth. So there you have it, a massive hole in the sun. A coronal hole has now been discovered. So apparently it's not cause for concern, but maybe, you know, if you are nervous, you could crack a corona.
What's this on the radio? She's a T2 tech.
Venezuela now liquidating their gold reserves as the economy implodes. Yes, Henry Sanderson and Andres Chicani for the Financial Times report that Venezuela's gold reserves have plunged to their lowest level on record after it sold $1.7 billion of the precious metal in the first quarter of the year to repay their debts. The country is grappling with an economic crisis that has left it struggling to feed its own population. They write that the OPEC members' gold reserves have dropped almost a third over the past year, and it sold over 40 tons in February and March, according to IMF data.
Good afternoon, this is Bob from Trade Genius. It's the 26th of May, and this is our daily market recap for the Next News Network. And before I get into the market, one thing I want to talk about is, and it is actually market related today, is that I follow the commodities market very, very closely. In fact, I consider it a passion of mine, and I've been watching with interest and alarm the commodities markets. We had a great year last year in terms of lower prices because of El Nino. And this year we're going into a La Nina year, and it is coupled with some additional activities with the sun getting quieter and also both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans getting cooler. And that's going to cause some great disruptions in ag around the world, and it's happening. And in the U.S., we're seeing difficulty getting crops in the ground, and in the Midwest, they're getting hammered with hail, which are destroying crops. And so we've been buying wheat and soybeans and corn, and we've been buying it through an ETF, and I also buy through the futures market. And I've been telling folks to watch certain price levels. When it breaks out, we're going to probably see a 10% move higher in the next 90 days of grain prices. Well, we broke out today, and so I tell this to you because this is not going to be like a 1 or 2 month thing. We may drift down a little bit again as summer happens, but for the next 2 years, food prices are going to go up a lot. So you really need to start thinking through how you want to prepare yourself, and also market related, get into stocks that are going to go up with food prices. We help with that if you're interested. Go to my website, I have a free book on it. I'll talk to you about how to manage through this. It's a secular move. And so it's very important, and I think it deserves some attention on your part to look into what's happening in.
I forgot to give my parents a house key. What if they can't get in to feed Max?
Hello?
What if they try to climb in a window?
Can you get it?
What if Dad tries to get through the doggy door?
I'm stuck.
What if the neighbors call the cops? What if the cops are really judgmental?
Super inconsiderate, Sarah.
Don't worry, we're AT&T. Boom. All good.
AT&T Digital Life Smart Home Security helps connect you to your home, so there are no more what-ifs.
By 2050, the world is expected to house nearly 10 billion people, prompting concerns over lack of natural resources, increased global temperatures, and food shortages. It's not unusual to hear about the threat of the rapidly growing global population. On average, each country is seeing their population grow by about 1.25% per year. But a number of countries have the opposite problem, a population that is rapidly decreasing, giving way to its own set of challenges. So, which countries have shrinking populations? Although the reasons for a shrinking population vary, the consequences are almost always the same. Fewer people leads to a smaller workforce, slowing economic development, and a massive public debt. While the worst cases of population decline can be found in Eastern Europe, where many countries will see their population drop by more than 15% over the next 3 decades. The most extreme case is Bulgaria, where the population is expected to be roughly 30% smaller by 2060. That translates to 164 fewer people per day, or 60,000 per year. Not far behind Bulgaria is Moldova, which loses just over 1% of its population annually, and has a death rate akin to war-torn countries in Africa. Over the last 3 decades, the populations of these and other Eastern European countries have plummeted for all.
According to research, in order for a culture to maintain itself for more than 25 years, there must be a fertility rate of 2.11 children per family. With anything less, the culture will decline. Historically, no culture has ever reversed a 1.9 fertility rate. A rate of 1.3, impossible to reverse, because it would take 80 to 100 years to correct itself. And there is no economic model that can sustain a culture during that time. In other words, if 2 sets of parents each have 1 child, there are half as many children as parents. If those children have 1 child, if only 1 million babies are mature shrinks, so does the culture. As of 2007, the fertility rate in France was 1.8. England, 1.6, Greece, 1.3, Germany, 1.3, Italy, 1.2, Spain, 1.1. Across the entire European Union of 31 countries, these numbers are impossible to reverse, but will cease to exist. Yet the population of Europe is not declining. Why? Immigration. Islamic immigration. Of all population growth in Europe since 1990, 90% has been Islamic immigration. France, 1.8 children per family. Muslims, 8.1. In southern France, traditionally one of the most populated church regions in the world, there are now more mosques than churches. 30% of children ages 20 and younger are Islamic. In the larger cities such as Nice, Marseille, and Paris, that number has grown to 45%.
The Dutch parliament has tried to strike a blow against radical Islam by voting to ban the burqa and veils. But that exposes unveiled women to being raped by Muslim men as punishment. There is reported to be a growing rape epidemic of unveiled women in Europe. In France, the government continues to pretend that Muslim anti-Semitic violence is not a problem. But it couldn't keep tens of thousands of Frenchmen from marching last month after the brutal murder of a young Jew named Ilan Halimi by French Muslims. Halimi was held for ransom and then tortured to death by Muslim immigrants who phoned his family and recited to them verses from the Quran as their son screamed in agony.
We can see that what he says is in the hearts of every government in Europe. We can see that everything that he says is in the heart of every disbeliever. That he wishes to ban the hijab, that he wishes to take away the Quran, that he wants to close down the Islamic centers. That is the same thing that we see in the rhetoric of the British. Islam will come. Islam will dominate. Islam will dominate the east of the east and the west of the west. So no matter where he runs, the stop, Islam will be implemented. So he can go and call on the any rock.
You found the love of your dreams, and together you had the kid of your dreams. Now you can put them in the car of your dreams for a lot less than one thing. Visit the certified pre-owned sales event now through.
Michiganders may have seen something extraordinary Monday night. A fireball meteor streaking across the sky.
It's pretty violent this time. Really shook the house. A man living in St. James City on Pine Island in Lee County wondering what's causing his house to, as he puts it, violently shake. And he's not alone. We've been getting a number of calls, emails, and Facebook postings from other viewers telling us you experience the same thing.
One man tells me he's felt his house shaking several times, but today it was worse than ever. What's interesting, a Navy spokesperson tells me they didn't have any aircrafts operating here around that time.
But I really don't think it's a sonic boom. It's kind of weird. It really is, though, to see that many at one time, fall from the sky.
Not one or two, but nearly 40 starlings were found laying dead on this street.
It was really unusual.
An unusual occurrence and a disturbing sight for both people who live and work around this neighborhood, as well as the responders who saw these birds.
Here at The Lip, we've covered a number of stories chronicling the unprecedented animal die-off that is happening around the world. 120,000 endangered antelopes were found dead in Kazakhstan, while thousands of starfish were dying on Morton Island. And this week, an estimated 8,000 black and white seabirds were found dead on the beaches of Alaska's Prince William Sound. Thousands more have washed up on beaches from California to the Gulf of Alaska over the past year.
The religious leaders you're about to meet are not your typical women and men of the cloth. These pastors are challenging the status quo. So can their New Age approach help people renew a connection with their faith and break down barriers in the church?
From weave snatching on the Real Housewives of Atlanta to the ridiculous insanity that is Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. But leave it to television to make it big and different. All of the characters showing out are men and women of the cloth. God is gonna heal your heart. It's called Preachers of Atlanta.
I think that tutu is almost like, wow! It kind of like...
These are the end times, ladies and gentlemen. These are the signs of the times, and that's what I was showing you. We are in the last days.